Dirtle Magic! Hello and welcome back. You can follow our post on Twitter and Facebook at DirtleMTG to stay up to date on our latest videos and other posts, and you can join a more robust discussion about Casual Commander at our blog, TheDiceBag.blog. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this content to help the channel and the blog grow. Another way you can support the channel, though, is through our affiliate links in the description below. If you're looking for single sealed product or gaming accessories to protect all of that glory, please consider clicking the links in the description. Now, grab some spells, it's time to dirtle. Hello. Today we visit a kami, or I suppose an oni, from Kamigawa that goes by the name of Seizan, known as the Perverter of Truth. The opponents today are Breya, Kenrith, and Magda. Breya wins the die roll and starts the game with a Darksteel Citadel into play. They cast a Wayfarer's Bauble and pass the turn. Kenrith erects a command tower on their turn. Magda plays a mountain and then slams a Soul Ring onto the table. Smuggling Copter then lands, and Magda is off to a good start, it seems. Over to me, and I play a Snow Swamp and pass. Breya plays an island and then cracks the Bauble. They retrieve a mountain from the deck and it comes into play tapped. Kenrith drops a Scalding Tarn, and it cracks. Probably too hot to hold on to anyway. Taiga enters the battlefield, and they pass their turn. Magda plays a mountain, and casts their commander, the Brazen Outlaw. The player crews the Smuggler's Copter with their commander, gaining a treasure, and proceeds to combat. The Copter swings into the Breya player, and triggers, filtering some cards. Breya takes 3. Ob Nixilis stalks into my hand on my turn. I drop a Gear Reach Sanitarium, and then cast Elderfang Disciple. Each of my opponents has to discard a card. To the Shaper's turn, and they drop an Ancient Den. They then cast Storm the Vault, and pass. Kenrith's turn has a Swamp come into play. Rhystic Study then hits the field, and they pass. Over to Magna, and a Mountain drops. Dwarven Driller is then cast, and they pay for the Study trigger. The Driller gets crewed to the Chopper, and they go to combat. The Copter and Magna both swing into the Kenrith player, taking them down to 34. Dead of Winter is the card for my turn. I drop a Rogue's Passage and cast Dark Ritual. Using that mana and the mana from the rest of my lands, I cast my commander, Seizan, Perverter of Truth. Breya's turn comes around and Seizan triggers, giving them 2 extra cards and draining them for 2 life. They drop a Treasure Vault and then cast Renowned Weaponsmith. Mana Confluence enters the battlefield on Kenrith's turn. Oko, Thief of Crowns is then cast, and I hope Seizan doesn't become fluffy. Oko is activated, and Magda gets targeted for Elking. In response, Magda player casts a Chaos Warp on their own commander, returning her to the command zone, but gaining no new permanent. Training Grounds then enters the battlefield for the Kenrith player. Magda's turn begins with summoning a Dwarven Blood Boiler. The Copter is then crewed, pumped up, and combat ensues. It smuggles on over to Oko for a friendly hello, and Oko leaves after combat. Probably insulted him or something. To my turn, and I gain a Swamp, Commander's Plate, and Oversold Cemetery. I play the Swamp, and then I cast the Plate. I equip it to Seizan, who gains protection from red, green, white, and blue, and gets 3/3. I go to combat, and swing into the Magda player, dealing 9 damage, and bringing them down to 29 and up to 9 commander. To Breya's turn, and a suspended Soul Talisman loses a counter, and they draw 2 extra cards. Gladra's Shrine comes into play, and then they cast a Khan, Shadow Slayer. When the Planeswalker comes into play, immediately their 3rd ability gets used to bring back the Angel of Ruins. Rhystic Study and Commander's Plate both get ruined into non-existence. Karn Silver Golem then hits the field, triggering Storm Vault to flip over, and I worry about my lands eventually being destroyed by a Mycosynth Lattice interaction. Kenrith has a snow-covered island into play. Tempt with Discovery is cast, and I'm definitely taking up the offer. I grab a Temple of the False God, and it drops into play. Breya chooses a Watery Grave, and Kenrith retrieves an Ancient Tomb and a Tropical Island. Magna did not get any lands. Arcane Signet enters afterward. This is followed by Blasphemous Act, and the board gets wiped. Magna's turn begins with an Arcane Signet of their own. Molten Steel Dragon comes into play, and then it crews up the Copter. In combat, it swings into me and I take 3, going down to 35. Moving to my turn, ironically, I draw an Ancient Tomb, which is a card I had avoided getting with the Tempt of Discovery. I play it, and I cast Explore the Vastlands to grab another land from the top 5 of my deck. Everyone else gets to do the same, or they can grab an instant or sorcery, and we each gain 3 life. I'm helping. I then cast Ob Nixilis and activate it to blow up the Molten Steel Dragon, as I don't want any life gain shenanigans happening with it like Luxed and Warhammer. Magda draws 2 cards for the trouble, and take 2 damage from Ob Nixilis. Breya's turn begins with another time counter off the Soul Talisman, and taking damage from their card draw. Shroom the Hegemon is cast, and enters, bringing back the Angel of Ruins. It triggers, and both Training Grounds and the Arcane Signet on Kenrith's side get exiled. Afterward, Kenrith player voices their displeasure about it in chat. The Breya player then casts 1 with the Machines with the mana from the Vault of Katlakan. They draw 7 cards and take 7 damage, going down to 26. Glimmervoid comes into play, and so does the Chief of the Foundry afterward. Kenrith's turn has a card drawn and damage taken. Underground Sea comes into play, followed by a Soul Ring. Heartbeat of Spring enters, doubling potential mana. Demonic Tutor hits the stack, and they search up a card. Dauthi Voidwalker is then cast, followed by a Helm of Obedience. I didn't catch this immediately, but I soon do. The Helm is activated for 1 against the Breya player, and because of the Voidwalker also being on the battlefield, exiles the Breya player's entire library. That's brutal. Well of Ideas is then cast, and they draw 2 cards and take 2 damage. Moving to Magda, they draw 2 and take 2, going down to 24. A Mountain comes into play, and a Leyline Tyrant descends. 7 red mana is left in the mana pool, and they pass. My turn brings a Leech-ridden Swamp and a Dread Presence. I drop a Swamp, and cast my Meteor Golem, destroying the Helm of Obedience. I then summon the Bloodgift Demon, and activate Ob Nixilis, getting rid of the Dauthi Voidwalker. There's no need for combos here. I cast Dread Presence, and pass the turn. Breya's turn gets another time counter off that Soul Talisman, but with an empty library, Breya loses the game on the draw step. Back to the Ruined King, and they draw 3 cards for the turn and take 3 damage, going down to 18. A Bayou gets dropped into play, and the Kenrith player casts their commander. Vampiric Tutor hits the stack, and they get any card to the top of the deck. Kenrith is then activated to draw said card, and they cast a Wilderness Reclamation afterward. They finish the turn with a Meal the Blessed. I wonder what other possible combos may be awaiting me. Magda's turn has them draw an extra card and take damage. With 7 red mana still flowing in their mana pool, they create even more and cast Tobron, Thane of Red Fell. The rest of the mana gets channeled into Jaya's Immolating Inferno, targeting my face, the Bloodgift Demon, and Kenrith's face, each for 14 damage. Kenrith responds with gifting me a large chunk of life, with my life total going from 34 to 48 after the life gain and the damage, and the Bloodgift Demon dies. Confusing to be sure, but I checked the chat after the fact, and if the Kenrith player happens to be watching this game, sorry I didn't see your message. They had asked if I had anything to eliminate the other player, and at that point I don't think I did. I usually keep the chat closed during video recordings. The Magda player crews the Chopter with Torbran, and moves the combat. Both flyers swing, and the dragon comes into me and the Chopter into Ob. The Copter triggers for card filtering while Ob deals another 1 damage. I take 6, and Ob falls into the grave. My turn gives me another Swamp, and I play the Leech-ridden Swamp. It is a Swamp, so it triggers the Dread Presence, and I deal 2 damage to the Magda player and gain 2 life. I then cast Dead of Winter, killing only my side of the field. Unfortunate, but I have an oversold cemetery and I need more removal, so recurring the golem seems like a good idea. I pass after I cast the oversold cemetery. To the Outlaw, and they cast Braid of Fire, making killing the Leyline Tyrant even harder than before. Geosurge is then cast for a chunk more mana, and that is followed by Drakuseth, Maw of Flames. With a lot of new teeth, Magda moves to combat. The Tyrant and the Thane come at me, and I take 10 damage, going down to 34. To my turn, I bring back the Iron Man. I draw Pontiff of Blight for the turn, and drop a Swamp. I cast Meteor Golem, and when it enters, it lands on top of Drakuseth, destroying them. I pass. Braid of Fire gets its first counter for the game. In the first main phase, Magna player recasts their commander. She's then used to crew the Chopper, and the player gains a treasure. To combat, and the flyer comes at me. I can't block and take 9, and go down to 25. Magna passes with 6 mana floating. Back to the graveyard on my turn, and the Elder Fang Disciple is chosen to get out of that oversold cemetery. Animate Dead is the card I draw for the turn otherwise. I cast the Pontiffs of Blight in an attempt to gain some life and stay in the game. Elder Fang Disciple is next to the stack, and I pay for one of the Extort triggers, gaining 1 life and draining for 1. With the remaining mana, I cast Animate Dead and grab Drakuseth for some Flying Defense. At the end of turn, Magda crews the Chopper with Torbran to gain another treasure, and I pass. Back to Magda, and Maze of Ith drops to the table. Luckily, it can't stop the Drakuseth from triggering. They flashback Strike It Rich and create some more treasure. Crewing the Chopper with both Magda and Torbran for even more, they then sacrifice 5 treasures to tutor up a dragon out of their deck. That dragon happens to be the mighty Inferno of the Star Mounts. I have 1 turn to live, it seems. With 13 mana in their mana pool, they move to combat. The Inferno of the Star Mounts has haste, and so it attacks with the Chopper and the Tyrant. Lethal is threatened by the Star Mounts, so I have to block with Drakuseth. Star Mounts is removed from combat in response by Maze of Ith, and I take the rest of the damage, going to 15. To what is probably my last turn, I do what I can to take my opponent down. I gain a Cunning Lethalmancer on my turn, and I cast it to trigger Extort. I pay every instance, which is 4, and I go to 19 while I drain my opponent down to 14. I activate Gear Reach Sanitarium just to see what my next card would be because I really needed more black sources this game, and then commit to an attack. I swing with everything able, and Drakuseth triggers. I choose 4 damage to go into the Magna player, and 3 each into Magna herself and Torbran. The Inferno of Star Mounts intercepts the Pontiff of Blight, which goes down to the dragon in combat, and my opponent goes down to 1. I pass the turn and await the inevitable. Over to the Outlaw. They gain 3 mana from the Braid of Fire, and move to their main phase. The Inferno of Star Mounts is activated to bring its power to 20, and then I get blasted by Dragonfire. Good game to my opponents. I haven't really played with Seizan before, but it's a commander I've wanted to build for a while. It doesn't have all the deck-specific cards within, but I think it did nicely. However, I can't overlook the contribution of the Kenrith player though, who gave me a bunch of life when they could have just saved themselves. I'll see you next time for another casual commander game here on Dirtle Magic. Until then, stay safe out there.